Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to 𝗥𝗵𝗲 Show. Thank you for always tuning in and for always being here with us. And 80% is showing up, the fact that you all show up for your success. And then today, Ria, my co-host, is going to be taking over the conversation. And Ria's going to be talking about real estate and I'll talk about mindset. But without further ado, I want to introduce myself. My name is 𝗥𝗵𝗲.
My name is Ria,
And
and welcome
to
to
our
our
show.
show.
Ria, pass the mic to you.
Thank you, 𝗥𝗵𝗲. And today's topic is a continuation from the book of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, Increase Our Financial IQ. So let me share my screen. All right. So I'm picking up from the last conversation we had, which was the cone of learning. So the second best way to learn, right? This is the cone of learning, the cone of experience. As we can tell from the cone of learning, the worst way to learn is first through reading and hearing a lecture. The most popular ways to teach in traditional schools, which is at the top of the cone, is that's the passive learning. Now, when Robert told his MBA students to just go out and do it, many of his students froze. Obviously, there is a gap between reading lecture and surviving in the real world. And a lot of times, this cone of learning, right? This cone of learning, this here is more of the passive. That's the reading. Active learning is here where you're actually doing it. So to continue from the book, Increase Our Financial IQ, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Most of us know that entrepreneurs are the richest people on earth. For example, Richard Branson, Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey. There's an ongoing debate that asks, are entrepreneurs born or can entrepreneurs be developed? Are they born or are they made? The question is raised because some people think that it takes a special person or a certain magic to be an entrepreneur. To Robert, being an entrepreneur is not that big a deal. For example, there's a junior high school girl in his neighborhood who has a thriving babysitting business, and she hires classmates to work for her. So this classmate of Robert is an entrepreneur. Another example that he gives is a young boy, and this young boy has a handyman business after school. So this is also an example of an entrepreneur. So what most kids have is no fear. They can jump as high as they can, as they want. They have no fear. But when we grow into adults, for whatever reason it is, fear is all we have. So when Robert asked his MBA students to go out into the real world, according to the book, they were scared. They froze. Now, the 5 key points on, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? The word entrepreneur is derived from the French word entreprendre. It's a little bit
Entreprendre.
right. Entreprendre. Yes. It means to undertake. Thus, an entrepreneur is a person who undertakes the risk. Such as, for example, Robert's classmate who was babysitting, right? So the risk there is, one, if she has clients, she's exerting her effort, she's spending her time and effort. And number 2, if she hires her other classmates, then it's other classmates' time, so she has to pay them. So she is undertaking that risk. Now, going back on the 5 key points, these are the debate about whether entrepreneurs are born or made has no straightforward answer. So it's like 50-50. Natural traits like risk-taking and ambition play a role, but they aren't be-all and end-all. Education and environment are game changers that can shape your entrepreneurial destiny. So education and environment is the key. Most successful entrepreneurs are a blend of innate qualities, so that's born, right? And learned skills, that's made. So that's why the first one, right? The first key takeaway, there is no straightforward answer whether entrepreneurs are born or made. It's 50-50 because you need to have the innate qualities that's born and the learned skills are made, depending now on the education and the environment one person is exposed to. So ultimately, becoming an entrepreneur is about a mix of what you're born with, what you learn from your environment, and where you came from. Education and environment. So, entrepreneurs, born or made? Assume that the answer is no, okay? Then schools could teach it to anyone. That would be a profession like law or medicine. Companies could establish nurseries for them. And government can have incubators, and they would be successful. So the real answer, like what the other figure showed, it is somewhere in between. Talent and education is the way. So talent, that is born. Education, you know, that's made, right? That's the exposure. Now, cultivating entrepreneurial confidence, because not everybody, just like, you know, with Robert's MBA students, they were fearful. So cultivating entrepreneurial confidence, one really needs to have the guts and the courage to face others, to sell, to make mistakes. That's why entrepreneurial is a risk taker, entreprendre, from that root word. So one has to build the right mindset. We have to embrace the self-belief. We need to have the growth mindset. And we need to persist through challenges. We should not quit. Because why? You may be just few feet away from gold. And we need to develop our personal brand, not the brand of others, our own personal brand. We stand firm in our values. We communicate authentically. So that's being truthful. And we promote our expertise. And now we leverage our strength. Self-awareness is the key. We leverage our unique skills, and the success starts from within us. Again, the truth, entrepreneurship is a skill set. That is, with mentorship, training, and persistence, anyone can learn entrepreneurship. So that is my topic for today. Stay tuned for more. We're almost to the end of the book of Increase Our Financial IQ by Robert Kiyosaki. So I'll be excited to share with you another book in the upcoming weeks. So let me know in the comment section below what you've learned from this topic of entrepreneurs. Are they made or born? Stay tuned for more of Alka and Ria Show.
Yeah, Riaz, I have two thoughts on that. So I have great topic, by the way, great conversation that we had. So I have two thoughts on that one. So the first one, you talked about what the popular ways of teaching, learning that kids learn is through passive learning, passive
So
reading.
active learning.
Oh,
Active
active learning, yes,
right?
active
Because you
learning.
are
Yeah,
immersing yourself.
right, active learning. Yeah,
However,
but but then the thought that I have on that one though is
Mm-hmm.
that, yes, absolutely, you need both. We need both. We need both, learning, whereby it's just, the theory aspect. And then we also need to go out into the field, like Robert said, go out into the field and learn. So the practicality. And I think the both and how kids learn even faster, even adults too, is you need to combine both the theory and the practical, because when you can combine both, you um you do set yourself to that higher learning. And so it's always about, it's not just theory, but practical
That's true,
aspect that
right?
really is going to help anyone in the long run.
That is correct. So, what I can relate, right, in medicine, so during medicine, a lot of our beginning years, right, first year, second year is more into theory. So we're all in the school, in the classroom environment. Now, when we do hit third year and fourth year, we are now exposed slowly to patients during our third year. So this is where our, books, the things that we learned in classrooms are now applied in the real,
Yeah.
world
Mhm.
of medicine. Now we can actually remember, oh, so it's so easy to remember when you're actually doing it, because
Mhm.
then you can link them up, right? Oh, this is what it means by, A, B, and C,
Yeah.
because now you're actually facing it, you're actually experiencing it. So yes, for example, with my kids, right, the best way for me to teach them about finance is for them to have their own, way of entrepreneurship. And how can they be entrepreneurs? One is they sell their books. So either they, from their own experience, they make a book, which is, the Asset Kids, how kids can help their mom and dad, which is a
Mhm.
truthful event, right? So they wrote the book and now they're able to sell it. So by learning things in our apartment business, right? By, for example, throwing garbages, um, knocking on doors, right? Of people who wants to sell. They actually go with me. We go together and knock on doors. That's
Mhm.
cold, yeah, right? So they are actually not only experiencing it real hand, right, at
Yeah.
such a young age, but then they're also sharing that in their book. So both reading and now application goes hand
Application.
in hand. So they're able to share it much better, because not only do they have it in their books, but they're also
Mhm.
written about it and shared what their experiences are, in their small little way of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. I think, well, whether it's a small way, but then that's how they begin to learn, right? So,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Remember, Tiger Woods started being a golf player at the age of 3,
was
right?
he?
So his
Was that?
dad,
Was that?
yes,
Yeah.
at the age
Oh.
of 3, and that's why he's great, because at the young age he was
Mm,
exposed, right? His dad taught him, and then he became great by applying what he learned from his dad. So
mm.
it's best that that we expose our kids as early as they can, as we can.
Right. Yeah.
Theory, and then application.
Reading application. And then the other point that I have, you talked about it as is entrepreneur, are you born or is it made? I would say you're made. And why I say that, because as an example,
Mm.
um, modeling. People often say, are you born a model or are you created a model? No, I mean, this is, I have two questions. I have two thoughts. One is a model, right? One is modeling or acting. Are you born an actor or are you created an actor? Do you mold yourself into that, whatever that industry is? So modeling, acting, a president. Are you born a president? No, you created a president. You mold into that role of president. No one is born into. So that is my question. It's not 50-50. I say no one is born into anything. It's how we make ourselves into that thing, into what
I
that
agree
is.
to disagree. No,
Why? Why?
no, it's 50-50, because you need to have
Why?
those. those certain, like God-given skills and talents, right?
Yeah, that's true. You do
For
have,
example, I want
yeah.
to be a basketball player. I
Mm-hmm,
know I cannot be a basketball player,
mm-hmm.
even though they make me be a basketball player. It's just not in me to be a like, my stature.
Yeah, you need the height.
I don't have
Exactly.
the skills. I mean, I could have the skills, but it's just not in me. Not my talent to be like a basketball player. So that's
Mm,
why I said it's 50-50. You could have, like born with it, but then regardless, right? Let's say you are born with it, but if you're not exposed to environment, if you're not educated, then if you are born with it, it's still not going to be developed.
mm,
So that's only a part of it, right? Just
mm.
like a diamond. A diamond is a carbon. It's a black thing for centuries, right? It has to stay there. That carbon has to stay there. But if nobody mines it, then we cannot appreciate the diamond. Somebody
Yeah.
has to pick it out, cut it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
like polish it, and
mm-hmm.
then we have it on a ring. So just like with being entrepreneur, right? You could be born with it, but then you don't have the environment and the
Yeah.
education, then nothing will happen. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I feel like it's 50-50. I agree. 50-50.
Right. So,
That's why we agree to disagree.
right. So I, but thank you for your viewpoint, but I still disagree to agree because because I mean why I say that, why I say okay, I disagree with you and but agree with what I said because yeah, fine. Like I said, like anything, like acting, most people or dancing, like most of friends that are in that dancing community that I know, they started to the age of 3 or 5 and they
Mhm.
are now pro dancers. But yes, absolutely, I agree with you. You have to start at an early age, so that's a talent. And we all have that talent. And you gave an example of the basketball player, but you and I, we don't have the height. We may have the talent. We may think, okay, I want to be a basketball player, but you got to be realistic. Do you have the height, or the skill set to becoming a basketball player? No, you and I don't have that. So we got to be realistic, and I understand. So I think kids also need to be realistic. Where do their skill sets lie? Where do
Right.
their
Strength.
talents lie?
They
Right?
have to hone into their strength.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to hone into it. So, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but to be able to identify as to what are our weaknesses or what is our strengths. And I think when we have identify, like I said, your kids, they go with you, but when you identify as to what are your strengths, are you good at talking, are you good at cold calling, like, right? Not many people have that skill of cold calling because they have that fear. Oh, what if I
Right.
get rejected? What if I, even if you go door knocking or even on the phone, people have that fear because, oh my gosh, what if I have that rejection? What if people say no to me? And so then that holds people back from them maybe not doing that. So you have to, I think you have to identify as to what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, and then hone into that, go into that. So,
Strength. Right.
then even when you're reading, you could be good at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
That your kids are good at school, they're smart, that but you could be good at school, but that does not mean
Wait. Right.
that for
Yep.
some people that they are good when it comes to like the social skills, they're not good at um in the
Or in business,
outside world,
in the real world, right? It doesn't
yeah.
mean that you're great at school, that you're great in the real world, because
No,
the school
yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
it's a controlled, environment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the real world, it's chaotic out, in the real
Oh,
world.
oh yeah, for sure. So it's a survival of the fittest, it's how you
Yeah.
survive.
It
And
is, right?
but that also, Ria, you know what? It just came to me, but that could also be the other way around. You could be not so good at school, but you're good socially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are some people that I know of, and I also heard of that, you know, you could be like, say, for example, you could be an amazing lawyer, or you could be an amazing, you know, doctor, you know, a specialist. But your social skills, you're not apt with your social skills. So
Right.
you could be
Yep.
highly intelligent, but your social skills, you know, it's
And that's a
terrible.
turnoff. That's a turnoff. People won't
Exactly. It's just terrible. Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
People,
Mm-hmm.
you may have one or two client, right? But you will not, you will not have a lot because it's a turnoff.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? So those are my two thoughts on agreement, disagreement, and you know, where do we stay? And but I think it's a great conversation. I love this. I think it's really good. You know, how do we mold children into, you know, how they're
With
becoming,
strength.
but just
But
hmm?
mold our kids into their strength. How do we mold our kids
Into strengths.
yeah,
Yes,
in their strength? And
right.
that's why I believe, having them, actual the practicality of things, right? Not just the theory, but having them immersed at a young age, then you'll get to see their strength because now you're immersing them into the real world, even though it's mini immersion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Mini responsibilities, but then you get to pick up and see, observe, right? What their strengths are. And then from there, that's where I hone and develop their strengths because not everybody is perfect. We have our weaknesses and we do have our strength. So I try to more polish the strength because just like with the diamond, the clarity, the cut, right? You have to get this precise so that it shines, right? Like wow, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see the
Kind of
diamond,
like a diamond. Yeah.
right? Yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
just like with a diamond, it takes a long time to become, the perfect diamond, right? So just like with them, with the kids, it's good to immerse them at an early age, just like Tiger Woods started at 3 years old, and then now he's a professional. He's one of the greatest, right? Um, golfers out there because he started at a young age. So it needs time.
Exactly. And with that, I do agree.
All right, we agree to agree in the end.
On some point. On some point, but in that fact, I do agree. And well, you know, guys, we've come to the end of another amazing conversation. Drop it in the chat. What was your highlight? What was your takeaway? And not just what was your takeaway, but how are you applying the challenge that we set for you? What was your highlight? What was your takeaway? And how do you apply that into your life today? Thank you so much for tuning in today's conversation on today's show. We will see you at the same time, same place, come tomorrow morning. Take care, everyone. Make the rest of your day the best of your day. Bye for now.